And good afternoon, everybody. We are only a couple of minutes late, but sure, what harm? It's grab a cup of tea time. It's WellExpo webcast time, and today we are going to be talking about children. But before I get into that, don't forget, our guest on Tuesday, Yoga Ireland, had a competition for everybody to take part in, and we have some free yoga. So do check back on Tuesday's webcast and enter that competition and see what you can win. Sarah, we're going to bring you on screen now, hopefully, if you are there. It doesn't matter if you're not, because we've problems every week bringing people on. So if you turn on your camera. Hi, Sarah. Yay!
How are you, Barbara?
It's great to see you. The last time we met was back in January, and we were absolutely standing side by side. Not to be today. We are all
not quite close enough, Barbara. Close enough.
Yeah, close enough. We are online now. So how are you, and how are things with Rinka.ie going?
Things could not be more different, Barbara, right now than what we are normally used to. As you know, the day in the life of Rinka is a very active one. We're out with the kids, we're in schools, we're in creches, we're in classes, and it's actually 7 weeks today since we stopped everything.
Janie, is it that long? Is it
that long? 7 weeks today was the day they announced that the schools had to be closed, and this was the last class that we taught. So as soon as the schools and the creches had to be closed, that was us gone too. So we had to make huge changes. And it, honestly, for the team and for everyone involved in Rinka, it was absolutely such a shock. And I would easily say it took us a good week to get our heads around the fact that we weren't teaching. Yeah. So it's been very, very different to what we're used to.
Yeah, and apart even from the changes tech-wise, you know, which is really hitting us all with a bang, you know, children's moods and things like that. I mean, you were getting them, say, after school or before school or different things like that. So, you know, they would have had a little bit of hype about them, a little bit of buzz about them, and they were meeting their pals. How are you finding that with them now that they're at the
You know, a lot of feedback that we're getting from parents at the minute is that they're lonely. And it's so understandable. You know, really, even if you look, Barbara, at what the conversations are on social media at the minute, it's all about making sure we stay in contact with each other, that we're connecting, that we're checking in on each other. But there isn't a conversation about how kids are doing. And this is huge for them. So, you know, kids respond so well to routine. And their little daily structure is up, breakfast, school, after school activities, home. And that's all gone. So I think for a lot of people, what they're finding is kids are very, very lonely. They're finding the days very long. It's something that they've never experienced before. And a lot of the feedback that we're giving to parents is to make sure, as much as possible, that it's actually a time that they're able to remember that was a fun time, that they enjoyed, that mommy and daddy were at home more than they're ever at home, that, you know, it's nearly like an extended summer holiday in some respect. And, you know, what we've said too to a lot of parents is, yes, normally we're telling them to move kids off the screens, but make sure they're having play dates on phones with their little buddies, and they're catching up, and, you know, that they're keeping connected as much as we need to keep connected.
Yeah, and that's it, because that would have been one of the, like, a real premise at the very beginning, doing it the old way, as they say, is keep them off the screens. Yeah. But now the screens are how we're connecting.
Absolutely. And, you know, what we're doing at the minute is we're teaching an online class every single morning. So Monday to Friday, we're live at 9 o'clock on our Facebook page. And, you know, it's sort of contradictory in that we're saying, no, guys, tune in to Facebook at 9 o'clock, watch the TV screen. But it's a great way for them, you know, to feel that they're still part of something. We've had messages coming in from parents saying that the lives have been so important because we're able to see who's watching, and we can call out the wee names, and we can say hello to them. And that's so important to them. Like, even there the other day, I was out for a walk here at home, and I passed one of the kids that we do teach. They were so excited just to get to see you. And I think it's really important for parents at home to remember how, you know, those little interactions are actually huge for kids, because that's their world. And it's really important that they're still getting to connect in with the things that resonate with them. And, you know, screens, look, they have their place, they have their time, whatever. At the minute, if they're being used positively to help keep kids in contact with each other, you know, little voice calls to granny granda, whatever it is, and for things like being able to follow in with home exercises, then it's only but a positive.
And actually, I noticed on one of your videos, it was great. It came up on my timeline. I didn't even have to go searching. That is how active your timeline is with everything that's going on. But you weren't doing it. I can't remember which one of the instructors was doing it. But it was if you don't have much space. So not everybody is going to have a garden, and not everybody is going to have a big sitting room or something to do. One of them was specifically if you do not have much space. And I thought that was really, really brilliant idea to do.
It's so important. So really what we've done with the plans that we're teaching online is make sure that they're suitable for people with just a little tiny space. They're suitable for people that have no equipment in the house. So you don't need to have anything to be able to join in. It's just all about using your body and getting moving. And the other thing that we're also really aware of is not doing things where you need a partner, because not everybody is at home with a brother and sister that's able to take part. So we've really geared it to making it as simple as possible for kids to take part. But we're getting such phenomenal feedback, and we've got a real regular group of people who are tuning in with us every single day, and it's been fantastic. We've got, like, on Wednesday now we're doing a family workout. Last Wednesday we did dads. And little AJ. Brilliant, so much fun. And I think that's the most important thing is, you know, we're focused so much on our own mental health and our own well-being, but it's so important to remember to focus on our 5-year-olds and our 6-year-olds. And, you know, we know ourselves how much better we feel when we get up in the morning and we go for a walk, or we get up and we do our own exercise. Children respond in exactly the same way. And providing them with that little bit of structure, that opportunity to burn that energy, you know, to release those endorphins, that's all really, really important for the little people at home, just as much as it is for the adults.
Yeah, and just as you were saying, you don't need, you know, lots of equipment or anything like that. I spotted a tray of beans on one of the videos, and I was going, what is she doing with tins of beans?
So there really genuinely is no excuse. If you tune in now tomorrow morning, tomorrow is our superhero day, and it's all themed about superhero exercises. There's nothing needed and nothing that you wouldn't have. Like, we've done animal workouts where the whole thing is revolved around, you know, being a different animal, making as much noise as we can, being as silly as we can, and using our body. But I'm telling you, if you did the workout yourself, you would feel it. So it's a really, you know, it's a real all over workout, but it's fun and it's silly and it's easy for kids to follow. And that's
and that's the other thing, because that's I'm looking down now. I actually did make some notes, which is kind of rare, but you do the Relax with Rinka, you do arts, obviously you have the movement, and you do a fittest county challenge.
We did, and Donegal won.
I couldn't believe it.
Of course it did. We did. So we've done a number of different initiatives. Really what our focus has been since the whole shutdown came in was to keep our social media as active as possible and to keep connected with the people that do follow us, you know, on a weekly basis. And what we decided once the initial shock passed was that what we wanted to do was provide some structure and content for our families to make life as easy over the next few weeks as we could do. So we set in place a daily timetable. We do the lives at 9, the art at 12, and the mindfulness at 7. We have a dance folder full of dances that we're giving the link away to people so that they can dance in front of the TV. They can have their dance offs on a Saturday morning. That's all there. And then we're throwing in other fun things like Rinka's Fittest County. We have a hashtag going at the minute that's Rinka at Home, and we're getting people to send us in photos of the obstacle courses that they've made or their dances that they've done. Tomorrow I'm going live.
That's my next thing. Yes, you are doing a baking challenge.
A baking challenge. I was challenged to go live tomorrow to bake. And baking is something that I love to do, but, you know, on a normal basis, I really never have time anymore. And the lockdown has been brilliant for me because I've been baking away. And I put up a post the other day there on Monday about all the memories that I have of baking at home with mum. And I said, you know, it doesn't matter. It's not about being good at baking, but it's about that connection. It's about the memories that you're making, and take this time to do those sort of things with your kids. And of course, out of that has now come the challenge of me baking live for the kids tomorrow. So we'll be putting up the recipe later on and getting kids to, you know, to follow along. So really our aim has been just getting that engagement, keeping in touch with everybody, and making life as easy as we can for parents at home.
And of course, while they're engaged with you, mom and dad or whoever can actually have their cup of tea for that few minutes piece and have their breakfast while, you know, the children, and that's really important, you know, because
Really
okay, so I'm past the smally stage, as you know, and mine are all grown and pretty much self-sufficient at this stage. But I do remember what it was like having 4 young children at home, and you're trying to grab that space, you know, just to be able to have 20 minutes for yourself or whatever. How long do the sessions in the morning last, Sarah?
By the time you get up and get started and do the warm-up, it's about 30 minutes, sort of 25, 30 minutes. So it's a perfect length of time. It's enough to keep the kids engaged. Now, what we do say is for parents to get involved as well, because it's a fun thing to do. It's a good bonding opportunity. As opposed to sort of kicking them in and closing the door behind them.
Actually, which I would do.
Every second
sorry to all the parents out there.
But the more engaged the parents are, the more likely kids are going to stay. So it's a fun thing, again, to do together. And it's good for mum and dad to actually do these exercises, because I'm telling you, some of them are not easy. So it's a, you know.
I discovered that. Yeah. I did discover that now.
You did so well, Barbie. You did so well.
Because there is a video of you putting me through my paces and the hula hoops. No, yes, I was hopping, like a hopscotch. And I tell you, by the time I got to the end of it, I was going, oh my God, I just.
But you know what? You laughed. And it's so important to laugh when we're doing these things. It's so important to share with the kids that it's a fun thing to do.
So backtrack then.
Yeah.
How did this all start? Because I remember Dragons Den, and I remember seeing you on that. And then, but I remember you coming away going, no, I know I have a seed of an idea, and I know this can work, because you have an Irish dancing background yourself, and your sisters and your mom and all that. So like, you would be kind of one of Ireland's fittest families that I would know of.
Irish dancing was a constitution in our house, so it was all of us dancing.
Yeah, and you have your business background as well. And then you kind of put all that together then. And you sports physio, which was I didn't realize. So putting all them together, you had this seed to work with children. But what triggered it to work with children? Why, you know?
Well, you kind of hit the nail on the head there with the Irish dancing. So I danced probably longer than most dancers do, and I was still competing in my early 20s. And this was where I really did get into health and fitness. I had a genuine curiosity for how to be healthier and fitter myself. And it was at this point that I decided to train as a personal trainer and a sports therapist. So what my sort of vision was at the time was to work with dance injuries, competitive dancers. You know, I was from a competitive background, and I was quite happy in a competitive field. I loved it. And that was sort of the very clear direction that I was going in. And then, as fate would have it, 2010, I was about 6 weeks from an All-Ireland Championship and about 3 months from a World Championship. So I was as fit as a fiddle myself, and I was doing my studies as well. And I was in a very serious car accident in the January of 2010. And the accident just flipped everything on a 180. So at the time of the accident, one of the biggest injuries that I had was that I lost the power to my right arm completely. So there was kind of no way of, you know, I was able to sort of twitch, but that was about the height of it. And they weren't able to tell me whether that was coming back or not. I also had a lot of injury to my abdominal wall. And this is something that still to this day that I have to be very mindful of. Now, I knew straight away that a career as a sports therapist with one arm wasn't going to work. But the message that I got from the accident was very clear. And over the period of a number of years afterwards, I went through 9 different surgeries. And the message that came back to me was I would never have made the recovery that I did make had I not been as fit as I was. And that was very, very poignant to me, because I was only fit because I love dancing.
Yeah.
So kind of being fit was sort of secondary to just loving to dance. And it really struck a chord with me, because I was lucky. I had found something that I was passionate about that naturally led me to being fit. But a lot of kids don't find that thing. So if a child isn't into football, if they're not into competitive sport, if they're not into Irish dancing, there isn't an outlet there for them to learn how important health and fitness is, for them to develop those skills at their own speed without the pressure of competition. And that really is where the whole thing began. So what I decided after my initial surgeries and when I was sort of coming back to health was, if I couldn't do the sports therapy, what I would do was the business degree. So over the course of the degree, it was a 3-year degree in Maynooth, I had 2 surgeries every year of the degree. So when I look back on that now, it was more time for me to get better than it was. I couldn't have worked, I couldn't have done a job. But by the end of the 3 years, I had a degree in business. My health was 10 times better, and I was ready to keep moving. And this sort of drive, this need to help kids develop the same level of fitness that I had, and that really and truly is where the whole Rinka thing started. And it's funny, because when I look back, I had a very clear vision of what it was I wanted to do. I just didn't know how I was going to do it.
Yeah.
And because of the injuries that I still had from the accident, I couldn't teach myself. So I nearly started the business upside down, in that I straight away needed a team of other people who could do the physical work, and I could do the behind the scenes work. And it was from there then that the whole thing has grown.
And and you see, and that's the thing, which is like, you still have that enthusiasm. As you say, you're all these years on from it, but you still have that passion behind as to what it is. Like, that seed has always been there.
Absolutely. And you know what it is too? It's because you see it in the kids. You see development every single time. And every child, like, we teach nearly 3,000 kids a week. Every single child that comes in the door is a different little person. So they're their own person, and they come with their own insecurities, they come with their own confidences, they come with their own abilities. And it's our job to help them grow in their own way. And I think that's a really important message, because
absolutely,
fitness is something that everybody has to have a good relationship with. Sport, not so much. We're not all sporty. I even laugh and say, when I was young, if you threw a ball at me, I ran in the opposite direction. I wasn't sporty, but I loved dance. So kids all deserve that opportunity to be confident with fitness in whatever way they choose that they want to do that. And, you know, we see kids come in the door who, for their first few weeks, are too nervous to even leave mum or dad behind. Give them 6 weeks and they're leading games and they're jumping in. And that's where we get our passion from. When you actually see the difference that you're making, you just want to keep doing it, because it's so worth it.
Yeah, I know. And I have worked with children in the music, and I remember we've had this conversation, and when you see literally their eyes light up and they go, oh, I did that. You know, it really is that light bulb moment. And like, obviously for me, it would have been, say, a rhythm on a drum or something, you know, but, and in your case, maybe it's the kiddies can do a hopscotch and they realize they have achieved something that they didn't know they had. But that actually leads into something else, is when children, particularly when they were coming into the bricks and mortar building, is the differences from a few years ago. Say, now I know I'm a lot older than you, but we would have been out on the street and we would have been playing and we would have been throwing a ball or whatever it was. It's not so much like that now. So there's a lot of, you know, say, lack of that physical ability. I can't find the words, but I think you know where I'm getting at, that nimbleness or suppleness or dexterity.
The basic skill isn't there. And this is really where I think the focus has to be on if we're going to make any sort of difference into the obesity crisis at the minute. Because we get kids who come in the door, they've never seen a hula hoop before, they haven't got a clue how to throw and catch a ball, basic jumping skills aren't there.
That's so sad.
And it really, really is. And, you know, there's people often ask whenever we're doing interviews, you know, Sarah, what's to blame or what? And there's so many different angles. You know, you've got, it's socially not safe anymore. A kid can't disappear for 4 hours in the evening and not come back till dark.
I know.
So that's not an option anymore. Parents work longer, later hours, so kids are only coming home later in the evenings. The digital era has absolutely upended everything that we used to do as entertainment. Children, you know, I read a report not that long ago about how children's posture is notably changing because they're not developing the core, they're spending so much time on screens. So it's having a detrimental effect. But what the big issue is if kids don't develop those core skills from a young age, they don't develop the confidence with it. So by the time they're 7, 8, they've already realized that they're not good at this. And this is when they pull back and they withdraw. So what we need to do is get them at a young age, give them the skills, give them the confidence, and then let them develop that relationship themselves.
Yeah, and when you think of it like 7, 8 years old and you've the school sports day and they go, no, I'm not doing anything. I'm not getting involved.
I'm doing this. Absolutely. And that's huge. The biggest thing that has to be tackled is confidence. So they have to believe that they're good at it, because the fear of not being good is what's holding so many kids back. And, you know, mainstream sports are wonderful for the kids that want to do that and that are going to enjoy it. But for the kids that don't, they also need to have an avenue to be able to develop these skills.
Yeah, and my guys wouldn't have been sports, as you know, like it's the music here. So the sports, like it didn't feature, like we were one of those households, you know.
Absolutely.
And trying to get them to enjoy it for the fun of it was very difficult, like nearly 20 years ago, because everything was on a competitive track.
Yes. And I mean, there are changes coming in. People are more aware now of how the focus can't be on elitism anymore. It has to be on participation. But it's still there. It's still, which is natural for a competitive sport. I'm still involved in the competitive dance world. It's completely different to the Rinka world. But really what the whole aim behind Rinka was to open doors for everybody. And I mean, we still get kids come in the door that are great footballers and are great at athletics, and they come to Rinka just for the fun.
Yeah.
But it was more to give an option for the other kids. You know, when I look back at my recovery from the accident, I am so grateful that I had the health and the resilience and the strength that I did have. If kids don't build that, you know, there's going to be illnesses, there's going to be accidents, and, you know, we don't wish anything on anybody, but children are going to have to build this resilience.
Yeah, for those down times that, yeah, even emotional downtimes, whatever about it, physical downtime, but an emotional downtime, I mean, that is actually where you start to learn that resilience and those coping strategies and those coping mechanisms as you kind of, and each child will tailor make their own version of it to suit themselves.
Absolutely. And I mean, we all know sort of how fragile our mental health is at the minute. And children need to be taught from a young age how important exercise is for their mental health. They need to be, you know, taught that this is something that when we do this, we feel good. And it's just the only reason we do it is to feel good. It's not about being brilliant. It's not about being the best. It's not about being better than anyone else. It's just because I simply want to feel happy at the end of it. And those are the sort of messages that we very much try to get through with our Rinka classes.
So when all this is over, how many counties are you in is probably the easiest thing to ask.
Jeannie Mac. Do you know, I don't even know the counties off the top of my head. We have a team of 30 instructors across the country. So I do know that. So we're literally from Donegal to Cork now.
Which is brilliant. So if people go on to your website now, they can obviously join you on Facebook every morning for 9 o'clock.
Follow us on Facebook. And, you know, it's great because we're actually developing a whole new following of people in areas that we don't even have classes yet. So whenever we do get back up and running, it's going to be brilliant to be able to meet all of these people for real. But we're literally inviting every family in the country to jump on board and take part in as much of it as you want. And the thing about it is too, the videos are there. So you don't have to do it in the same time as us. Do them at, you know, whatever time suits you and your household. And the other thing is too, we've put absolutely no charge on anything that we've done. So everything is up there, it's for free and it's available. And it's just about making everybody feel that wee bit brighter every day.
Yeah, no, it is. It's brilliant, and it's fantastic the way, I love the way you approach it. I mean, as I say, your page just flies up all the time. There is so much activity on it, you know, and I find myself laughing at the kiddies too. Maybe I'm just thinking back on what it was like to have a smallie. I'm not 100% sure. But tomorrow, we're going to look forward to you doing your baking challenge.
Oh,
what time is that at, Sarah?
It'll have to tomorrow, so all support is welcome.
Have to
territory for me.
On the website is Rinka.ie. The Facebook page is Rinka Ireland.
Rinka Ireland.
Yeah. So on the Facebook page, which is Rinka Ireland, we will see you do your challenge tomorrow.
Yeah.
And everybody can get in touch with you through your website, and they can find out for when this is all over where their local classes are. Although I'm sure if a group got together and said, listen, we'd love one in our area.
Absolutely.
They could actually get in touch with you about that as well.
And that is actually how a lot of our areas grow. So, you know, before this all hit, we were building great momentum and we were adding in new instructors in new areas all the time. Obviously, we're just going to have to wait until we get the green light to get back into classes. But what we are looking at is hopefully, even if we could get classes back with 10 kids, we have a whole set of plans ready that doesn't involve equipment, doesn't involve the kids mixing with each other. So as soon as there's any sort of hint that we can go again, we'll be ready.
Brilliant. Sarah, as always, I love chatting to you. You are just
You're very good.
So full of energy, so full of life, and absolutely so passionate about what you do with children and bringing the best out of them. So Esther, how were things going? Do I see a question here at the bottom? No.
No questions. Lots of people have popped in to watch the video, watch us live. No questions, just a couple of comments of you've got so many things for the kids, and it sounds great that getting a hot cup of tea in peace sounds like heaven.
So. After my own heart. Sorry, Sarah.
Happy balance, that's what all about.
Sarah, thank you so much for coming on today.
No, thanks for having me, Barbara.
I will chat to you soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Goodbye, Pat. Goodbye.